Oh my god, YouTubers, we finally got some more Spider-Man Homecoming. That just pretty much guarantees that they're going to be dropping the official trailer with Rogue One in a couple weeks.
What? What are you doing? Hey, I'm Peter.
So this is Brazil Comic-Con. It was basically like a short clip from Spider-Man's perspective. He starts swinging around, then he's talking to Happy Hogan. Jon Favreau is back.
Badge. 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 Badge, guys. I put a memo in the toilet. Come on.
If you guys remember him from the Iron Man movies, he's technically only Iron Man's driver, but he's kind of like the confidant, which actually reminds me, I'm actually going to be doing an Iron Man Spider-Man giveaway. So all you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. It is for a Comixology gift certificate for about $30. Be sure to turn alerts on because there's going to be a whole bunch of Spider-Man dropping really soon. They were able to convince Jon Favreau to come out of hiding. He's been directing movies, so it's not like he's been doing nothing. But I know everybody's hoping that he's going to come back and direct Iron Man 4 eventually. You know, who knows if that'll end up happening. But hopefully the Marvel Illuminati and Robert Downey Jr. can convince him. But then they jump to a couple other clips. There's Tony Stark giving Spider-Man a giant suit upgrade in this big Stark Tech briefcase. Then you see him jump off a building with the classic webbing underneath his arms. So they're going for some super deep cuts with Marvel's version of Spider-Man. It's going to be so awesome. I know it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of Iron Man in the movie, just the way people have been talking about it. You probably heard about the way Marvel is treating the Hulk in all these films, like they're giving him what is essentially his own movie, just spread out over a couple different movies because of the weird rights situation with Universal. Obviously, they don't have that problem with Iron Man. It's just that Robert Downey Jr. is waiting for the right story to come along, and he's so expensive that they want to make sure if they're going to do another Iron Man story, that it's just going to blow up Captain America Civil War style. And for the most part, Iron Man's kind of at a low moment right now, so it looks like he's throwing himself into mentoring young Peter Parker.
As walnut date loaves go, that wasn't bad. Oh, what do we have here? Retro tech, huh? Thrift store? Salvation Army?
If not full-blown adopting him. I don't think they'll ever do that, but they'll flirt with that idea. Like, they'll make you feel like Tony Stark is emotionally adopting Spider-Man, just like Spider-Man will emotionally adopt Tony Stark. You can just imagine the headline, Aging Lonely Billionaire Adopted by Widow and Nephew. So you've seen a lot of Iron Man films, you can imagine what his scenes are going to be like in the film. Like that scene in Civil War was so telling, the way, it was kind of funny, meant to be a little offhanded, casual, but there was also a lot of heart in it too. Like, Iron Man's been through a lot of shit, so has Peter Parker as of now. Like, he starts to tell the Uncle Ben story when he first meets Tony, but they kind of stop it short. But also in that same way, they're kind of using Doctor Strange very sparingly in other people's films. The same thing's going to happen with Iron Man and the Hulk. It's just like the Hulk, I think, is going to be a much, much bigger part of Thor Ragnarok because there's been so little of him so far, and there's been so much of Iron Man. But you start to talk about how Peter Parker resembles Tony Stark just a little bit, like he's a future scientist. This shirt that he's wearing just gives you an idea for the tone of the humor too. The physics is theoretical, but the fun is real. So he's just like a branch off of the Tony Stark tree. I can't wait to see their scenes together, just see them try to out-quip each other. Spider-Man is king of quipping, but Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man is king of quipping in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So then they jump between a couple of the other people in the movie, some of the villains, just like some of the big action set pieces. There was a Vulture action set piece that was in the Comic-Con trailer. They kind of put a little bit of that in there. Iron Man is going to have to help him out just because the Shocker is also in the movie. There was a little bit of Michelle, Ned Leeds, the other people at his school like Flash Thompson. And then a little bit from the funny bank heist save where he takes down people who are dressed up like the Avengers. It's like this really hilarious heist where like a bunch of thugs dress up like the core Avengers from that first Avengers film, and Spider-Man's like, I just got done hanging out with you guys. You were definitely not my friends. So he'll have like a couple small funny saves, then you have the really big Vulture stuff that's going on in the movie. But I just love the idea that Tony Stark is helping to make him whole Spider-Man again. Like, you've had a bunch of different versions of the character before. There have been a lot of stories about how Andrew Garfield felt like he failed the character, which is kind of a bummer. But I think, what Marvel and Sony are intending to do with this arrangement is just bring back a lot of depth and meaning to the character, like a deeper message. Andrew Garfield's criticism of his own version of Spider-Man was that it was kind of hollow, like it was perpetuating that type of Michael Bay filming with all show, no feeling behind it. So, Marvel is just trying to infuse a lot of the emotion that you felt like the first time you read a Spider-Man comic into this movie. So that's why I feel like we should all be freaking out about it. But yeah, there's going to be like a ton of really awesome action scenes in it too. And this is only the first movie in a trilogy. So if you didn't know, they did confirm that Spider-Man is getting a new trilogy that will follow him through high school. They haven't fully explained how the timeline's going to work, only that Kevin Feige was likening it to the Harry Potter franchise, the way it followed him through school right up to the end. So he'll be graduating in that final film. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to be doing Avengers stuff in between. We have the Infinity War films, so there'll be all kinds of stuff happening. It's just that Spider-Man's age will keep him a teenager through these films. So you're not going to get like a 16-year-old Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, which is actually where it picks up. He's a sophomore in high school. Cut to the next movie where he's 26 with a 5 o'clock shadow. But not to stomp all over Tobey Maguire, because I actually really did enjoy those movies when I saw them. But they did joke about putting some dancing in the movie just because Tom Holland is actually a really good performer and he's actually very acrobatic. So given that the Homecoming dance, Spider-Man Homecoming, all these things bleed together, there might be like a little bit of dancing somewhere in the film. But if you have watched the other Spider-Man movies, even like the Tobey Maguire movies, the role that Norman Osborn occupies in Spider-Man's life because of Harry Osborn, he becomes this big villain. He's kind of like an evil version of Tony Stark. So what they've done in Spider-Man Homecoming is they've given that role to Michael Keaton's Vulture, but that doesn't mean that he is like Norman Osborn. He's just a big villain who constructs a flight suit. Like that's how his wings work. They just decided that Marvel, it just kind of flows a lot from Stark Tech. It's all technology based. There aren't a lot of metahumans or even mutants, because they can't use the word mutants because of the Fox films. So that doesn't mean that they're never going to do Green Goblin. It just means that they wanted to do different characters that they haven't done before in this first new Spider-Man film. In fun fact, if you want to know why they redid the origin story, like they essentially did the exact same story when they rebooted Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, Kevin Feige actually clarified that that was a rights issue. That was part of the way that Sony was allowed to keep making Spider-Man films. They had to do an origin story. So that's kind of ridiculous, but that's just kind of the way that contracts work out with big Hollywood studios. So thankfully, now because of this Marvel arrangement, they don't have to redo the Uncle Ben origin story. You pick up with Peter being Spider-Man for a while. They'll probably address Uncle Ben, like he won't be completely absent from the film, but they're not just going to redo the origin story again. So just a reminder that the Spider-Man trailer is supposed to be attached to Rogue One. That's what everybody seems to be saying. I haven't seen any official confirmation from Marvel, but they typically don't confirm stuff like that. Like usually they don't comment, but that's going to be in 2 weeks, and I will be doing a bunch of Rogue One videos too. But James Gunn also revealed that they finished the new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. He did not confirm when they're dropping that, but it might also drop with Star Wars Rogue One. So what's going to happen next is I'll post a new Rick and Morty video, then I'll post a video for next season's big Flash, Arrow, Legends, big crossover. So get hyped, it's going to be a really good weekend. There's a whole bunch of comic book stuff happening this weekend. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for all the big DC Week videos that I did for the big crossover, and you can click here to rewatch the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer. So everybody, high five, I'll see you guys in a little bit.